Good morning. Can you guys hear me in the back? Okay, great. Okay, so Casey and Mr. Jones and the rest of the staff and faculty here, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about your day and to share some thoughts with you to kick you off. So, native genius is a kind of innate intelligence that you already have, every one of you in here, and you're already using it. And we're going to be looking at how you can recognize when you're using it and how you can grow it in school and beyond. And also why native genius matters so much to both your success and your happiness and your fulfillment. So I wanted to let you know that you can go to this URL and get a handout. I'll show this link at the end, but it'll give a summary of the talk and some additional tools that you can use with friends and family and teachers. I'd like to start with a story about native genius to help you get a sense of what it looks like and what it feels like. So a couple years ago, a friend of mine, Natalie, and she and I met in the 7th grade, so younger than you are now. And she was going through a difficult time, and she and her husband were on the rocks, and she called me and she said, "Okay, Chris, Phil and I are getting divorced, and I am just devastated, and I don't know how I'm going to get through this, and the house is a wreck," and her daughters were preteen at that time. She goes, "I'm so worried about the girls, and I just don't know how I'm going to keep it all together." And you know that moment when a friend calls you and you wish you could do something, but you just don't know exactly what it is? And that's how I felt. And so the next day, I'm on the phone with our other friend from junior high, Ray Lynn, and we grew up in Texas, so there are names like that, Ray Lynn, Jim Bob, things like that. So Ray Lynn says, "I really want to do something to help Natalie. You know how I love dragging dirt around the yard. I think I'm going to go over there and plant flowers tomorrow." And I went like this, ding. Why don't all Natalie's girlfriends go over there and just spend a Saturday morning helping her around the house? But, and then I had this idea, they can only help her if it's in their native genius to do so. But we didn't even tell people what native genius is. We just said, you can only come over and help if it's fun or interesting for you. And that's the only kind of help that you can give. And what we thought was going to be one Saturday morning turned into a 6-week extravaganza of about 12 women helping Natalie. And I want to tell you about a few of the women who helped. So in walks Carrie, and she's got on her tool belt and her power washer. And she goes, "Natalie, I'm going to wash that front walk for you because I don't think that's been washed since the day you moved in." And Natalie was like, "I don't even have a power washer. I never even thought of that." And so Carrie's out there power washing the front walk, and then she comes in and says, "Natalie," she gets her screwdriver out, and she said, "The last time I was over here for dinner, we were putting the dishes away. I noticed that your kitchen cabinet hinges were loose. So I'm going to tighten those all up for you." And Natalie's like, "Great." And then when Carrie is done, she's like, "Hey Natalie, I'll be back next week. I need to power wash your back walk." So what we see with native genius is this yes of eagerness, yes of action. And when you're done, you don't think, "Oh God, thank goodness that's over." You think, "When can I do this again?" Right? Then in walks Libby, and she said, "Natalie, we're going to clean out your closet. And you're going to get rid of all the stuff that has like holes in it or doesn't fit you or it doesn't look cute anymore. And then we're going to organize everything by color and like whether it's dressy or casual. And then every time you get ready, you're going to get ready fast and you're going to leave looking and feeling so cute." And so then about 5 weeks in, people are still coming over doing all this help. And Natalie and I are talking on the phone one day because she still lives in Texas and I live here. And she said, "It's just been amazing. And it seems like people have been so touched, like, really sharing what they want to give." And I said, "You know what we should do? why don't I come down there and let's bring everybody together. You could like make them snacks, and then you could thank them, and then we could all talk about what the experience was like. Okay, so this is me, ever the teacher, ever the coach. Like, what kind of opportunity do we have to bring people together and have them share with each other? So I fly down there, we're all sitting together, and Natalie, well, first of all, it's like a reality TV show, because not everybody has seen all the finished product, and people are walking in and going, oh my gosh, did you see the garage? Oh my gosh, did you see the closet? Did you see the kitchen? And Natalie's little sister, who I've known since we were itty-bitty, walks over to me, and she has tears running down her face. And she grabs my arm, and she says, Chris, you are such a good friend. And I said, Ashley, actually, it wasn't me. All I did was ask people to bring their native genius, and this is what happened. And then when we're sitting down and Natalie's thanking each person, she starts with Libby, who helped her clean out the closet. And she said, Libby, you did such an amazing job on the closet. That would have taken me 2 weeks, what you did in a day, and I would have never even got it to look or function the way you did. And you guys, you should have seen the look on Libby's face. She was like, what do you mean though? But that's like so easy. Everybody knows how to like clean out a closet. And and Natalie's going, not like that. And so there's this sense that because this kind of intelligence comes so naturally for you, that's why we call it native genius, you can be doing it, but barely realizing you're doing it. It's almost like you're a fish swimming, and somebody's saying, wow, look at how you're swimming, and you're sort of going along going, doesn't everybody get around this way? This is like no big deal. So let's look at the elements of native genius that we've drawn out through this story. So native genius, you have this yes of eagerness, yes of action. It's actions that you do, that you cannot do. And you have a craving to do these actions. But to you, it feels somewhat insignificant, but to other people, it's making a bigger impact, probably a bigger impact than you realize. And it's shimmery. So by shimmery, I mean even above and beyond, above excellent. It has this special quality because you're engaged, your intelligence is engaged in a different way. So this intelligence that you have, this native type of intelligence, this is your mind humming while working. And people all over the world say that it feels, yes. So, the thing about when you're in this place, your nothings are your somethings. So the things that you think are sort of nothing, those are actually something quite significant. And what we want to do today, as you're thinking about your future and going towards success, you want to be thinking about when this type of intelligence is on and start waking up to like, hey, maybe my nothings are my somethings. Okay. So people all around the world will describe this native intelligence feeling as, I feel curious and fascinated and interested, and I'm focused, but I'm not having to make myself be focused. And I feel smart. And I could keep doing this for a long time if somebody just brought me food. And, you know, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. It's not like it's always fun and easy. There are challenges, but they're the kind of challenges you want to do. Like if somebody came up to you and said, hey, I'll finish that, you'd be like, no, I actually want to see this through to the end. You know that feeling? And the shorthand that we use in the native genius method for this type of intelligence, when it's on in you, is my eyes light up, or MILU for short. MILU, or my eyes light up. And the shorthand is really important because you don't have to say like, hey, I'm awesome at this, or like, this is a strength when you're thinking to yourself, I don't even know if I'm that good at it, right? But you can say, this is my MILU, this is my eyes light up, and your classmate you share that language, they'll understand and know what that is. And your family will have this shorthand to talk about that. That's my eyes light up. That's where I bring this persistence and resourcefulness, and I'm also going to bring better than average performance at it as well. Okay, now the opposite of this is, you know those things that you're working on when you think, oh, I wish I didn't have to do this, I wish it was over, you feel bored, drained, uncertain, like your brain cells are dying, and you actually feel a little bit stupid, even though you know you're not stupid. And it's not that you're lazy, because you're not lazy. It's just that this thing that you're doing, you don't feel quite wired to do it. It feels like your brain doesn't work this way. And this, you might guess, if the other one is called My Eyes Light Up, what do you think this one might be called? My eyes glaze over. Like you're like, oh, my eyes glaze over, I gotta do this thing. So this is the signal that your native intelligence is off, right? You can bring other types of intelligence, you can bring hard work and other kinds of things, but that native part of you that's curious and fascinated and interested is off when you're in your ego. Okay, so Milu is about desire and appetite to do something. When I first, a long time ago, when I was in college, and I thought, I really want to love my work, but I thought, that's frivolous. Because work and school is about achievement, and it shouldn't matter whether I actually enjoy it or not. But it turns out that the more I studied this, there was part of me that was super skeptical, and part of me that deeply wanted this for myself. Never in a million years did I think I would be teaching people to do this. But the skeptical part of me was like, I don't know, you can have fun on the weekends maybe, take a class on Thursday night, but you've already got your career as an accountant, let's not mess this up. And the other part of me just longed to have that conversation about my work because I loved it so much. And what I've come to understand through some of the research that I'll share with you is that for each human being, the idea of being curious and fascinated and interested with what's in front of us and wanting to take action on it after that is part of what makes work good. It's part of what makes work successful. And it's also part of what makes us healthy and happy, because we spend so much of our time at school and work, right? So this is actually, being in your Milu is not just for rich people and privileged people. It's a birthright for everybody, and we can all move ourselves to these zones where we're in this place of Milu, and we can all help each other get in those places too, and earn a good living while we're doing it. So the research shows that when you're spending a lot of time in your My Eyes Light Up zone, you're going to be way more productive, and you're going to be twice as likely to be thriving in your life. And likewise, if you're spending a lot of time in the Migo place, you're going to be twice as likely to be stressed, depressed, and have heart disease. So there's profound implications for how we're spending our time. The other thing is, when you're in your Milu most of the time, or a lot of the time, you are broadening your intellectual capabilities in general. You're broadening your skill, your capacity to pay attention, your capacity to innovate. So the more you're in your Milu, the smarter you get. Okay, so not a luxury, it's really, really important. The other thing I want to say is, none of us are under the delusion that all of school or all of work is going to be 100% Milu. It's going to be 100% My Eyes Light Up, right? All of us, even for people who really enjoy their work, they will be sometimes in their My Eyes Glaze Over. That's life, right? Okay. So let's make some distinctions. So strengths generally has to do with what you're good at. Passion has to do with what you feel like a strong value system, or you feel strongly about. Passion may intersect with your native genius. Often people use that word interchangeably. Native genius has to do with actions that you're hungry to do. You have a craving to do these actions. where passions and innate genes can be different. Like, I love healthy food. I will go out of my way to eat it, but I don't want to have to make it, shop for it, cook it. I wish I had a little personal chef that followed me around and just gave me all my healthy food, because I don't want to have to do anything about it. So it's a passion of mine, but it's not my native genius because I don't have a craving to do it. Okay? All right. So think about this question. So when you enjoy something, are you aware that you're better at doing that thing? So as you think about that question, I want to tell you about a study that's about speed reading. It's actually not about speed reading, it's about this question. So there was a study done in Nebraska with about 600 secondary school students, so people that were your age. And they wanted to find out, if we put people through the speed reading class, how much will that help people read faster? But before they even started the speed reading class, some readers started out as super slow already. They were already slow readers, and some readers already started out as super fast. So you can imagine that the slow readers, when they found out, hey, it's time to go to speed reading class, what were they doing? Me go, right? Like, my eyes glaze over like, oh boy, right? And the fast readers, most likely they were excited about it. So let's look at what happened. What would you guess, after the speed reading class, what would you guess the slow readers, just think in your mind, what would you guess the slow readers would have increased or decreased after the speed reading class? Okay, so the slow readers increased by 67%. Would you say, that's pretty good, right? We send people to a class, they get 70% better. That's good. The fast readers, though, they increased by 800%. And when I first read this data, I was like, I don't even know if I believe that. I'm gonna have to go actually look at the numbers myself and see if that's even possible. Turns out it was. So the thing about being in your My Eyes Light Up is your appetite to do the thing drives your ability. It drives how good you are at it. So when we think for a moment about one of your report cards. And you have subject A, D, uh-oh. Subject B, B. And the rest of everything is B, and then you have some A's, right? When you look at that, and if you're a parent, when you look at that for your child, where do you think you should invest more? And I loved what Mr. Jones was saying about investment. Investment is the thing that lasts, right? Where would you put your investment? So most people around the United States and around the world would focus on fixing the D. And certainly the D must come up. The D needs to be passable. It needs to be where you can at least function. We cannot say, oh, well, I have MIGO for math, I'm not going to learn math. No, everybody has to function in math, right? You have to be able to know some of these things that are MIGO for you. But what we never usually think of is investing more in the A. What this research study shows is that when you're already performing well, the A is only the beginning of where you can go. Okay, so Mr. Jones talked about this question this morning. What do I want to be when I grow up, right? Who feels like this question is, like they wonder about this question? Raise your hand. Okay. Yeah, okay, awesome. I see a dad out there, or a caregiver, or a family member who, from my guess, is probably not a student here. And he raised his hand. What do I want to be when I grow up? I think that when we're younger, we have this fantasy that we'll be able to figure this out and answer it, and then it'll just be done, right? I'm seeing another mom nod. But the truth is, and I'm seeing Mr. Jones nod. The truth is, even us old people, we're still wondering about this. Like, is this really what I wanted to do when I grow up? And am I really doing what I wanted to do when I grow up? So, I am going to suggest today that this is an important thing to understand, but this is the wrong question help you understand it. I think that the more useful question is, how does my innate intelligence work? And then once I know that, I can figure out what kind of jobs or roles would use that innate intelligence. Because isn't it kind of interesting that when we're going to go to school or we're going to go to work, what are we doing there? We're using skills, right? Where do those skills come from? Our mind. But we never stop to look at how does my mind unique and how does it work naturally? We can always train the mind, and when you train your natural tendencies, your performance skyrockets. So if you want to know how does my intelligence work, here are the kinds of things that you can look at. You can look at specific actions that you love to do, like working on a geometry proof, or a chemistry project, or helping a friend with a project. See how these are specific actions? You don't want to look at the results to answer this question. The results are important, and of course, we want you to have those results from using your native genius, and you do already, and you will even more. But if you look at the results are out there. They're these satisfying situations that are happening. They're not the engine of your intelligence humming, right? Because if you love doing the geometry proof, whether or not you get an A, you're going to want to do it again. You're going to be like Natalie's girlfriends who want to keep doing that thing. That's going to make you better at it. This, you guys, is one of the most important distinctions. If you walk out of here with only one thing, this would be a really good thing to take. Because so many times, if I ask people, what's your favorite part of school? Or what's your favorite part of work? They'll say, well, when I won this award, or when I got a good grade, or when I got a compliment. And all of those things are great, but they don't tell us about your unique intelligence because they're the fruits of your labor. They're not how your labor works. Okay? All right. So we're going to have a little conversation. If you came by yourself, I just want to say, awesome for you for coming, getting up early and coming by yourself today. But also look around because there are a few single people who are seated, and so you can turn around and talk to somebody. But you want to answer this question. So talk about a specific assignment or project that you did that gave you Milu. So it was you wanted to do it, it was fun or interesting, you were thinking about it when you weren't doing it. And here's the other thing. If you are drawing a blank right now, that actually is a good thing because it shows you're learning. If you knew all the answers to this, you wouldn't be learning anything new. You would be walking out of here being like, yeah, I already heard all that before. So, if nothing comes to mind, think smaller. It could be like a 15-minute homework assignment. And maybe you can't think of anything, but that one 15-minute homework assignment was fun or interesting. The other thing is, if you can't think of anything today, just know that native genius work clicks for different people at different times. So it might click for you later on tonight, or in a week, or when you hear somebody else talking. If you can't think of anything, it does not mean that you do not have native genius, because every one of you does. So when you turn to the person who's next to you, you'll each share, and you'll take about a minute or so to share, and then switch roles, and then I'll chime when you're done, and we'll come back together. And if you can't think of anything, let your partner go first, because maybe they'll think of something. And you can go outside. It can be something at school, but also maybe it was something, a chore that you did at home, or something you helped a sibling, or something like that. It can be the smallest little thing. Okay. So, if you came by yourself, turn around, see if you see somebody right behind you. You can move in and chat. If you prefer, you can just journal or think to yourselves. Okay, so turn to each other and talk about this question. Go.
What was the thing that you did that made you happy? In terms of like schoolwork or work? I mean, it's not like happiness, but it just, the paper was like, oh, you know, you were interested in it. Yeah, so have I ever felt that? No, not really. No, when I was in 3rd grade, and I was homeschooled in 3rd grade, but I would have been in 3rd grade if I went to public school. And I did an assignment for my mom on Egypt, and I used the papyrus thing, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm cool. Yeah. That was pretty sick. I don't know.
And make sure you switch roles.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's a big there. That's like, you know, you like saving money. You like financial responsibility, I guess. Okay. See, go out and count right now. You know, it's a fun time. Oh yeah, it's great.
Okay, welcome back. These are the kind of conversations that you can start to have in your life, and for parents, when you start to have these kind of conversations at home and around the dinner table, it creates an environment where these kind of conversations are normal to focus on this intelligence zone, and what we pay attention to grows. So sometimes though, you may have a Milu thing that you're like, how do I get to use this again? Because I worked on that chemistry project, but I'm not going to get to do that a lot. So what we want to understand is sometimes native genius is like one of those nesting dolls, you know, when you have a little doll and you open it up and there's another thing inside that's even tinier but mightier. So native genius is like that. So here are 3 different people that worked on a chemistry project, but the thing that really lit them up about it was different. For one person, it was working with a group. For another person, it was creating a presentation. For another person, it was working with the periodic tables. So when you understand these things, the more specific, then you can apply it in lots of other different situations, right? See how those things are more portable to different types of school and work. So oftentimes when I ask people, hey, well, what was the part you enjoyed the most? Can you guess what people would answer? They go out there. They go to the results. My favorite part was when I got the award. My favorite part was when I got a compliment. Well, that's hard to repeat, right? That's hard. You can try. But what you want to do is, how is my intelligence working? And here's the question that really gets to the heart of this. So you imagine that you're doing your Milu, and then somebody says, hey, you're about to go into a magic room in 5 minutes, and you're only going to get to do one part of this that was the part that you found most fun and interesting. What part would that be? So you imagine going in the magic room, and you're like, oh, it would be creating the presentation. If I could only do one part, it would be that part. And that is what will help you get more specific and actionable about these actions. So nobody's native genius comes packaged in the form of a job, right? Each person has multiple native geniuses, and they're unique to you. And plus jobs, things like accountant, plumber, radio announcer, all of those things, by the time you guys are working, there's going to be new jobs that we can't even think of. And by the time you're working and then you look 10 years in the future, there's going to be more jobs. So we don't want to build your success based on jobs that could be changing. We want to build your success based on you knowing how your innate intelligence works. And then, after we know that, then we say, what kind of jobs does my innate intelligence line up to? And if you already know, like, I know I want to be, I know I want to fight fires, like, I know that's what I want to do, that is awesome. Congratulations. Because you're lucky, a lot of people don't know that. And then what I would just say is, just within whatever you've chosen to do, how can you bring your actions so you're being a firefighter in the way that lines up with your native genius actions? Okay. So, when you think about growing your native geniuses, think about morphing them. A lot of times people will say, well, I heard one of the people on the screen say, I love creative writing and I want to do more of that this year. And sometimes we'll say, oh, I don't know where it's going to go because maybe this is never going to turn into anything. Can you guys relate to that feeling? Mr. Jones even raised his hand. So, you know, it's that feeling of like, maybe this is never going to turn into anything. This is where if you take a tiny leap of faith and just try something, it will start to get momentum and build. So a lot of times what we think is, well, I'm not going to try anything unless I have a very clear target, a goal, and then I'm going to make a straight path for that. But actually, if you like working with groups, with other student groups, how can you do that again? Right? And how can you do that again? And how can you do that again? So you're growing that Milu in you, but you're also growing the skill of growing your my eyes light up. Right? So morphing is taking a tiny leap of faith to take action on growing and expanding and continuing to use those actions that light you up. Do you guys know who this is? Hassan Minhaj? Do I see any raised hands? I see a few hands being raised. Okay, great. Okay, so he has an award-winning show on Netflix. Oh yes, okay, good. On Netflix called Patriot Act. And he studied political science. He went to college and he studied political science, and he really loved it. But when he was studying political science, he was like, wait a second, he saw Chris Rock do a stand-up show, and he was like, I love that. I want to try that. So he starts driving an hour to San Francisco and starting stand-up comedy, not knowing where it's going to go. He didn't know. He's just taking action. So a few years later, he applies to The Daily Show. He'd never really done anything that political, but he'd done a one-person show on his immigrant experience. He gets a job at The Daily Show. He gets invited to be the headline speaker at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And then now he has a show where he combines politics, stand-up, and of all things, slide presentations. So he's got slides all over him. He's invented a whole new genre. So Hassan didn't know exactly what he wanted to do. He morphed. He took a tiny leap of faith. He also used a lot of hard work, and that's also really important. So you can't think that native genius alone is going to get you to success. You have to add grit, persistence, and hard work over the long haul. You guys know Lizzo? Did you guys know she is a self-proclaimed band geek? Did you guys know that? Okay, I'm seeing some nods. Good, I like it. And then I'm saying, no, I didn't know that. Okay. So she, in high school, she loved rap, but she also loved flute. And when she was in rap, people would be like, don't bring your flute, everybody's going to think you're a dork, right? And she was like, yeah, but I like the flute too, this is like all one thing to me. So, and then she went to college and she studied classical flute. The other day, she's performing at Coachella, and something's going on with the music. They can't quite get it on key, and the mics are having a problem, and she's like, oh, yeah. She was like, she gets her flute. She goes, I'll get us on key. I mean, she knows her chops when it comes to music, right? Because she's done really hard work. Okay, so you want to morph, and you want to use your grit. Okay, and so also, no, you can't use native genius as an excuse. So you can't be like, hey, it's not my native genius to clean up my room. You still gotta clean up your room. Maybe just figure out a more fun or interesting way to do it. All right, so let's bring this to a summary of all the things that you can do. So what you do want to do is notice and talk about your milieu, and you want to morph it. And you also want to, people. If you want people around you to support you in your native genius, don't be annoying by using it as an excuse, because nobody likes that, right? You're going to get the most support if you're using it in a positive way. And then what you don't want to do is, don't worry if you can't think of your milieux yet. Just keep paying attention, and don't worry if you don't know where it's going to go. And then don't use it as an excuse. So here is where you can go to get the handout, and there's also conversations tools that you can use with your friends, your family, with your teachers, and yourself. And also, I want to encourage you guys, as you're looking at the agenda for today, you might even ask yourself, what's a session I feel like I should go to because I know it'll help me, but what's a session I want to go to because it lights me up? Like there's one on, drawing pictures for your class notes. Like if you're already good at drawing, but you think that sounds fun, go. So go where your eyes light up and use your grit to do so. And I will be hanging out afterwards, and I wish you a fabulous day, and I'll be hanging around if you want to come up and chat or you have questions. Thank you.